you. All right, let me. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to join us. I know that it is summertime and there are a lot of the weather's nice. There's a lot of different things that you could be doing right now. So, thank you so much for being here with us. Let me just make this full screen here. Okay, one moment. I'm going to share a different one. All right. The worksheet, I just saw the message in the chat. Let me change that to ensure you actually, I'm not sure if I have that permission. Saida, I believe that worksheet was the one that was
Yeah, I'll go ahead and
uploaded
make
on
the
your end. So,
changes. Yeah.
okay, great. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the link I had sent. Okay, great. So let's get started. Sorry for that. Welcome to Telling Your Story Professionally. My name is Erica Cruz. You can find me pretty much anywhere online at the Erica Cruz, and that's Erica with a K. You can find me on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Instagram, as well as, let's see, what other social channels. That's kind of pretty much all, oh, as well as YouTube. I'm not super active there, but LinkedIn and Instagram have been kind of my main platforms for building my brand. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today as well. But before we go there, let me actually just share a bit of my story. I am a coach and a speaker. I am the daughter of Mexican immigrants. I am a community college transfer student. I went to a local community college in Pittsburgh, California called Los Medanos College, where Norma and I went to school together, and we both ended up transferring to UC Berkeley. I was working at a tech company and I went from working in the tech industry to being a seven-figure entrepreneur, but this was not always the case because back in 2019, I was applying to every tech company that I thought was cool. I was applying to TikTok, to Instagram, to LinkedIn. TikTok was very new then, to Pinterest, Google, Facebook. I mean, all of the different companies you can think of, a variety of different jobs. And I didn't even make it to an interview. I want to say I submitted about 103 applications to different positions and they were rejected. One of them I got pretty far, which was Google. That was the only one that gave me an interview, and I made it to the final round. And then they restructured and canceled the position. And I remember I was doing this thing that I was taught, which was just work hard, keep your head down, be humble, and somebody will notice you. And I think a lot of people are taught this, especially if maybe you are the first person in your family to go to college or the first person in your family to work in corporate or attempt to work in corporate. There's not really somebody that's gone before you that can tell you exactly how to do things. But unfortunately, the be humble and somebody will notice you did not work for me. Nobody ever did. And I remember I was ready to give up. I was ready to just kind of settle and be like, okay, I'm okay where I'm at. I don't need anything more. And it really affected the way that I started to dream and that I started to kind of think bigger until I started to build my personal brand. And that is when literally everything changed. I stopped kind of hunting. I stopped, I would say, what's the word? Panic applying to jobs. And the job that I had applied to just a few years before ended up emailing me and said, "Hey, we think you'd be a great fit for this role." And it was a role from Facebook. And that recruiter reached out a bunch of different times. I also ended up on the front page of the New York Times because I ended up leaving the tech industry completely and starting my own business. I ended up getting really cool opportunities with TikTok. This was back in 2020. I ended up interviewing celebrity Luis Fonsi. He's the guy that sings the Despacito song. And Harvard ended up hiring me because I was showing up consistently. And I was just talking about the impact that meditation had on me as an overthinker and as a first generation student and as the first person in my family to experience a lot of these different things. They ended up hiring me to lead meditations for their first gen group. And then I ended up on the news, on interviews. I started getting opportunities through my inbox, working with Western Union, doing speaking engagements, doing more interviews, as well as working with Spotify as a brand deal. I mean, all of these crazy things really started happening. But this happened because I built my personal brand. So, what in the world is a brand and why does it matter? Your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. It's essentially the perception that they have of you and the thoughts they think, the feelings they feel when they think of you. And never before have we had so much power over our personal brand as we do today. So whether this is how you are showing up in the classroom, showing up to these virtual events right now and connecting with people, as well as connecting with people like me, people like the staff that's put this on, as well as how you are showing up. If you do currently have a job, how are you showing up there? If you do have a LinkedIn, which I would recommend all of you get a LinkedIn if you don't already have one. But if you already have a LinkedIn, are you posting on LinkedIn? Do you have your face on LinkedIn? Are you sharing part of your story and experience on there? So your brand really can be the difference between getting an opportunity and not getting an opportunity, because what building a brand has done for me is it's attracted opportunities to me that I didn't even know I wanted. I didn't even know I could have them. And they came out of nowhere. For example, the New York Times feature, I never thought that was a possibility for me until it landed in my inbox. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what do I do if I don't have a brand? But the truth is that all of us have a brand. We just need to curate it a little bit. So, what I want to do with all of you today is I want to show you what works, even if you don't have any followers, even if you're just getting started, even if you are just creating your LinkedIn page or maybe filling out your handshake profile. And if you don't have any experience in the actual workforce, because even if you don't have experience in the workforce, you have experience in life, and lived experience always beats any other type of experience. And I want to prove to you how the experience you already have in your life can really transfer over to things that you can talk about and during your job interviews, to things that you can add to your resume, to things that you can talk about on your LinkedIn profile or add onto your handshake profile. Just want to do a quick check. You can all hear me okay, right? I just realized I forgot to check that my
Yeah.
mic was plugged in. Okay, great. Thank you. Um, Microphone. Okay, great. Yeah, my mic is plugged in. Perfect. Thank you all. So, while your resume or an application might get you into the pile of applications, your brand is really something that will set you apart and get you out of it. And by the way, feel free to and to ask questions in the chat. I definitely have enough time at the end to answer any questions, but if things come up, feel free to add them into the chat. And I'll be sure to keep that chat window open so I can see it. Okay, so first, before we talk about how it is that you can build a brand, there are some beliefs that do not serve us that can hold us back. And one of them is the hardest worker gets rewarded. And this is, I wish this was true, because I feel like I know some of the hardest working people ever. And I'm sure you all do as well. And maybe you identify as one of those people as well. And this idea that the hardest worker gets rewarded, I think comes from really great intentions. But if I've learned anything through my many years of working in corporate, as well as now being an entrepreneur, as well as being a student and navigating all of these different systems, what I've learned is that the person who's the most visible about what they've done is the one that gets rewarded, even if they did less. So let's say that there is Sally and Bianca, and Sally is this hardworking person, and she shows up every day. before anybody's at the office, and she's kind of the last one to leave, but she's really quiet and she doesn't really say anything. And then we have Bianca, on the other hand, that shows up maybe, I don't know, an hour later than everyone else, but is very vocal about everything she's doing. And yeah, maybe she leaves around the same time people leave as well, but she's constantly communicating about what she's done, what issues she has resolved. She's always kind of communicating around, oh, how can I support? And whenever it comes time to either promotions or giving somebody an opportunity, the person that's going to come to mind is not the person that's hiding. The person that will come to mind is the person that is the most visible. And that would be in this example, I think I said Bianca, right? Yeah, I said Sally and Bianca. So that would be Bianca. So even if they've done less, the person who allows themselves to be visible is the one that ends up getting rewarded. And maybe you were raised to believe this idea of like, oh, just keep your head down, be humble. In Spanish, we have this saying, ¿Qué va a decir la gente? What are people going to say about you if you're talking about yourself? Because the last thing you want is to kind of come off conceited. But what I want you to know is that visibility is not conceited at all. It is a skill that you can learn. So even if this wasn't something that you were born with, it's something that I've learned along the way. And I'm going to give you some tips today as well. But while it is important to work hard, if you can learn to be visible as well, you will become unstoppable. So I'm not saying let's just go be visible and talk highly of ourselves and then spend all day doom scrolling and never really showing up, right? And never doing anything. It really requires a combination of both. So what this would look like would be applying to an internship and then maybe following up. That's a way of being visible, or maybe applying to the internship, posting something on LinkedIn about how you are looking for an opportunity like this or why an opportunity like this is so aligned, and then sharing that with the person who is the hiring manager. Does that make sense to everyone? If you have ever felt kind of like, oh, I just need to work hard and keep my head down, and everything that she said in this slide resonates with me, or at least part of it, can you just put a one in the chat so I know that this is resonating with you all so far? And I'll move on to the next one. Okay. Andre says one. Okay, great. Okay, thank you all so much. So, the second belief that doesn't serve us and that can really block us from being visible and from building our brand is this idea that selling ourselves is sleazy or conceited. And I mean, I used to be in this house as well. I used to say, I hate sales. I never want to be salesy. And the truth is, yeah, none of us want to be salesy. But what I want you all to know is that you are always selling. You are selling while you go into an interview. You are selling yourself in friendships, and not selling yourself in a bad way, but almost promoting yourself to kind of be included into the friend group, or selling yourself on dates. That is the perfect example, right? We want to make a good impression to this for this person. We want to secure a second date, maybe, or maybe even convincing your parents that college is worth it. That's also a form of selling, or of influence and of negotiation. And the reason that selling can feel really sleazy or conceited is simply because we're putting the spotlight on ourselves and thinking, oh, that feels really gross. I don't want to come off as this person who's saying how great I am. But you can be humble and you can still speak highly of yourself. So, what helps my clients a lot is because I support my clients with building brands and with creating content. And a lot of times they're like, oh, I really don't want to put the spotlight on myself. I don't want to have to sell myself. That feels really gross. And what I tell them, it's something I call the spotlight theory. And I say, when the spotlight is on us, then all we're thinking about is our insecurities, our shortcomings. We feel sleazy. But when we put the spotlight on how you can help and how you are just kind of the vessel to help, then it feels like service. And selling can really be a form of service. But the thing is that, actually, I'll finish this thought because I think it's important. So when you are in an interview for an internship or for a job, or if you are creating content, if you are feeling like, oh, I really don't want to have to talk about myself, I don't want to have to sell myself, that is when you are going to feel this sleazy feeling. But when you put the spotlight on, if I get this internship, I will get this experience. I'll be able to give back to my family. I'll be able to contribute to this company. Or if you are creating content, maybe you can say something like, when I take the spotlight off of myself and I put it on the people I'm looking to help and serve, then it gets to feel like service. Then it's no longer about you, it's about giving back. And I find that that is the fastest way to overcome this belief. And the first person that you have to sell is yourself, on yourself, right? Because imagine if I came to this presentation and I was like, I don't know why in the world these ladies hired me, but here I am. I'm going to try to make this work for all of you. You would be like, why am I listening to her? I came in and I sold myself, right? I was like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I've done. This is what my personal brand has done for me. This is what I hope to teach you. And because I'm coming from a place of wanting to serve, it doesn't feel sleazy to me. And I know that you can feel that as well because I've been doing this for long enough to know that this presentation is really about how can I help you land the job? How can I help you build the brand? How can I help you change the way you think about visibility? And again, so the first person you have to sell is yourself. Also, imagine going on a date with somebody and then the person is just completely worried about how they look, how they sound, rather than actually asking you questions. Well, you probably won't even want to go on a second date with them as compared to somebody who comes to the date really prepared to ask you questions and feels very confident. That's a whole nother energy as well. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, what if I do not have experience, Erica? I am, I don't know, a first or second year college student. I don't even know what my major is. You might be thinking all of that, and that's so valid because I didn't even know what my major was until I was forced to pick it when I got to university. But I changed my mind so many different times, and it's okay if you change your mind because I'm not technically using my degree right now, but that experience of getting the degree was so worth the journey. So I know that me being on the other side, it's easy for me to tell you this, but when you're in your shoes, you're like, I just want the clarity already. But the more you do, the more interviews you do, the more internships you do, all of that is going to lead to so much more clarity. And no experience is ever wasted. And what I want you to know is that you already have a lot of skills and it's just about translating them. So when we think about selling yourself and how do you sell your skills, here are a few different examples. So let's say maybe you have helped your parents like either translate a language or just translate how a system works. Maybe your parents aren't familiar with how certain systems work or even technology, right? How technology works. Maybe you have translated language or technology for your parents, whether it's at the bank, at a doctor's appointment. So the way you would translate that to skills would be communication under pressure. By the way, how many of you are first gen? Can you put a number 2 in the chat? I just want to make sure that I'm speaking to everybody. So, okay, I see some of you. And when I say first gen, it could be first gen to work in to look for the kind of job you're looking for, first gen to go to university, first gen, it could be kind of any of that. Okay, great. So thank you all so much. I will just kind of verbally change some of these examples here. So let's say that you supported your, oh wait, I didn't even finish this first one. So for the first one, I would translate it to communication under pressure or cross-cultural communication. Managing family bills and paperwork, that's project management. Or if you have been the one that takes care of planning family vacations or just coordinating, hey, how are we going to get from this train to this train? Or how are we going to ensure that we, I don't know, lower our water bill if it came high that month? If you've ever helped with anything like that, I would consider that project management, negotiation skills, or if you are working while you are in school, that would be prioritization, ability to manage multiple priorities, resilience. If you are first gen, again, whether it doesn't have to be first gen to being in the United States, it could be first gen to go to college, it could be first gen to work in your field. Then I would say, or navigating any systems with no roadmap, doing something the people before you haven't done. I would consider that self-starter and the ability to take initiative. And what I would say, oh, that's a great question. Okay, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Mamencro? Megan. That's a lot easier. Amazing. Yeah. So I'm currently working by helping take care of an elderly woman. Hold on. It's set up like a real job. How could I sell that beyond I'm a personal caretaker? Yeah, great question. So the way that you can sell that and would simply be I would write down what's everything you support her with. I'm assuming you have to be on time with maybe medications, right? So I would even say I would transfer that to project management or ability to pivot, right? I'm sure, okay, maybe the plan was we're taking medication at this time, but oh wait, this came up. Nope, we're gonna have to call the doctor and make another plan. So ability to pivot. Another thing I would say, I think I added a couple more examples. Yes, prioritization, ability to manage multiple priorities, as well as I would even say emotional intelligence, because I assume you're not only dealing with the patient here, right? Or the woman, you're also dealing with family members and things like that. So being able to manage multiple stakeholders as well. That's the word I would use. But there's so many ways in which you can do that. So what I would even do, take the worksheet that you're all getting from this presentation, I would upload that into the AI that you use of choice. And I would say, hey, AI, based on this information here, can you support me with coming up with different points that I can add to my resume or to my Handshake account or on my LinkedIn profile? And you can give it some of the examples I just gave you. And then even use the voice dictation feature. And you can just kind of describe what your day to day is and the challenges you overcome, what the role entails. And you could keep editing that, but that would be an exercise that I think would save you a lot of time as well. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, a good story that highlights the skills that you have will take you way further than I have 1 year of experience working at Starbucks or Pizza My Heart. And there's nothing wrong with those, right? There's nothing wrong with having that experience, but having a good story where you can talk about the different things that the different skills that you have had to embody with your job or with your life experience, that will take you so much further. So for you, Megan, it would be, I remember I was given this specific plan, but X, Y, and Z happened and I was forced to pivot. And this is exactly how I thought about it. And of course, you're not going to write this whole story on your resume, but if you are in the middle of an interview, that is the perfect time to do it. So Megan, you're actually a step ahead here because it's actually all of your turns. So I want to give you all just a few minutes, maybe just 3 minutes or so. Write down one thing you do for either within your family or to survive school, or if you've had an internship in the past, or if you do have a job, and write down the things that you do and then do your best to translate it into professional language. You can steal them from the slide that I was just sharing. I'm going to go back and then drop one in the chat if you feel comfortable. And then when you download the worksheet, there's a spot there for you to write 3 of them down. At the end, I would love for you to add this either to your LinkedIn profile or your Handshake profile. But what I will do now is I'm going to come back to this slide and I will give you all just a few minutes. I'll mute myself. And if you want my help, you can write in the chat and I can help you. So again, this is what we're doing. We're writing down at least one thing that you either do for your family or to survive school or in a past job. And then what we are doing is we're translating that skill into professional language. So if you want my help, you can put it in the chat. Okay, I'll mute myself. Augustina is OPT, does that stand for optional practice training? I'm not sure exactly what major you are in. I just want to make sure I have the lingo right. Yes, okay. Great. Okay, so for the administrative assistant experience as well as customer service representative, I feel like you could probably take almost everything on this slide as part of that. What we are going to do next is actually help you come up with a personal brand statement, and I think that might be helpful for you. And we will also look at different ways in which you can build your brand to help you with opportunities. And then business administration and management is my major. Yeah, okay. So I have specific personal brand statements for different industries. So I'll show you the one that I have for business, and then you can see if that one feels in alignment with you. Um, Okay, Angela, sacrifices and priorities. I would translate it to be able to get a, yes, definitely. Ability to work under pressure, to step outside of my comfort zone. Ability to prioritize multiple, to organize multiple priorities, things like that. This is all so good. Yeah, you are all on the right page. Andre, that looks great. Wonderful. Okay, let me move on because this is taking longer than I thought, which is why I made my presentation shorter because I knew I could be long-winded here. So now let's help you sell yourself in this like non-sleazy way. Write down your brand statement and don't worry. I would actually recommend if you want to maybe take a photo of this. I will send the slides to both Zaida and Norma so they can get them to you as well so you can keep these. But I would recommend if you want to just take a quick photo of this. So I have a template for you all that you can follow. And this is, I am a major year student who, and then what you're building towards, and my superpower is, and then one of your translated skills, how it is that you learned it, and you're looking for blank opportunity. So this is a quick example. I'm a second-year business student working towards a career in healthcare administration. My superpower is staying calm and organized under pressure. I learned it managing my family's medical appointments and paperwork since I was 14. And I'm looking for an internship where that skill actually matters, or a job, right? Like you can, if you resonate with any of these that I have shared, feel free to steal them. Feel free to take photos of all of them. You can also change things up. So if you're like, oh, I like a piece of this one and I like a piece of this other one, if you find yourself in healthcare or nursing, you can say something like, I'm a first year nursing student working towards becoming an ER nurse. And my superpower is staying calm when everyone else is panicking. I learned it interpreting for my grandmother at her medical appointments. And I'm looking for a hospital that I can volunteer at or work at. For business, I'm a second year accounting student working towards a career in finance. And my superpower is making complicated numbers make sense to people. I learned it by doing my family's taxes and explaining our bills to my parents. I'm looking for an internship at a firm that works with small businesses. Or if you are in IT or computer science, here's an example. I recommend taking screenshots or photos of these. For education, I'm a second year education major working towards becoming a bilingual elementary school teacher, and my superpower is explaining hard things in ways that click. I learned it through helping my little brother with homework in a language my parents couldn't help him with, and I'm looking for a classroom aide position. Or if you are an undecided major, I try to come up with as many examples for you all so you can see different varieties of these. I'm a first year student, still exploring my path, and my superpower is showing up for people under pressure. I learned it by being the person my family calls when something needs handling. If we have kind of any eldest siblings, I feel like you fit right into this one. And I'm looking for opportunities where I can try new things and figure out what fits. So even if you do not know exactly what you want, you can still sell your skills. Do you see how for the undecided major, we're still able to talk about the skills you have and position yourself in a way where you are looking at your lived experience as your superpower? If you are working while in school, I'm a second year business student working towards a career in operations, and my superpower is running on a tight schedule without dropping the ball. I learned it while working 30 hours a week while carrying a full course load. Obviously, if this one resonates, just kind of edit this so that way you can add the amount of the actual hours, or maybe the amount of credits you were taking at the time. And I'm looking for a role where organization actually matters, or maybe entrepreneurship. I'm a marketing student building my own brand, and my superpower is making people feel understood. I learned it being the first in my family to navigate college and sharing what I figured out along the way. And I'm looking to grow my audience of students who feel just as lost as I did. So, a few examples for you all. You don't have to have this perfected. And then the other thing I want you to know is that you can change this. So even if you chose this one today, next week, if one of these feels more in alignment, you are allowed to change them, which is why I want to give you all a copy of these slides so you can just kind of copy and paste. And you could even go into AI and say, hey, I really like this, but this is what's different. Can you give me some variations? And what I would suggest that you all do with this is that you can put it onto your LinkedIn profile if you have a LinkedIn. If not, you can add it onto your Handshake profile. So if your goal is a job or an internship, I would prioritize either Handshake or LinkedIn. Make sure that you add a photo and complete every section of your profile. That is key, especially with the rise of AI right now, where a lot of sorry, one second. Where a lot of AI content is generated, people need to be able to see your face. It's okay if it's a selfie. It does not have to be a professional photo, but it is really important. Okay. Whoops. I know that there's some messages in the chat. I'm going to read them in just one second because I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone's. But so yes, add a photo and complete every section of your profile. Paste your brand statement into your About Me section, either on either one of those, and then add your 3 translated skills. and then put that statement in your LinkedIn headline. So wait, I don't even know if the headline works. I think it should just be your About Me section as well. So please disregard this here. Either your handshake or your LinkedIn About Me section. And then I would suggest posting if you're really looking to grow your brand and find opportunities, posting once a week about your experience and what you're learning, what you're building, even if you're not an expert just yet. So I looked over and Andre, obviously you have a lot of experience. You can come off as an expert in your content if that's something that you wanted to do. Are you in the middle of maybe like a pivot? Hold on, let me read your message and then I'll keep going through this. Okay, thank you, Saida, for sharing that. Yes. So you can, sorry, I should have read that out loud, but I was just thinking my wheels were turning over here. So if you've taken a course multiple times and you're like, wait, I'm kind of an expert in this, the way in which you could frame that instead of saying, for whatever reason, I had to take this course over and over. You could even just say, these are some of the courses in which I have outperformed in. I've taken blank number of lab courses. You don't have to say, I retook X, Y, and Z course, or for whatever reason, you don't have to explain that. I would just say, I've taken, I don't know if you've taken 4 or 3 or 5, it doesn't matter what the number is, but I would lead with that. And it's also about how it's delivered. So if you say, oh, I've retaken courses and say it with shame, then it almost comes off as like, oh, there's something wrong with that. But if you're like, oh, I absolutely excel in this area. I've taken that course, I've taken a lab course about 4 times. And each time I improved by doing this better and doing this better. I was able to support my colleagues during that time, but that's definitely a good internship to look into. And I might even start within the community college that you're currently at, asking to see if there's any opportunities. So a lot of times, while I think you're building your brand on LinkedIn or anywhere that feels in alignment for you is great, because even if you leave, let's say your goal is to get a job, you get a job. If you leave that job, your personal brand continues to go with you, while that job may not. So I do think it's worth investing in and putting some time into. With that being said, sometimes opportunities are right around us. So if there are labs within your community college that you could maybe go and ask if there's any internships available, I would start there. So I would put this, the personal brand statement. I'm looking at the question that says, could you put this as your headline on LinkedIn? So I don't know if you could put it as your name on LinkedIn, but I do think you could put it as your headline on LinkedIn, or at least the beginning part of your bio on LinkedIn. Megan, I'm looking at your message here. I started at UCSC before dropping out, so now I'm here. Yeah, so even if you have dropped out, you still have what if it was 1 year of experience or 2 years of experience or 2.5 years of experience, all of that is experience that's not lost. Whether you got the degree or were a class away from the degree, the experience you gained is still there. And then yeah, if you persistence during difficult circumstances, yeah, I would say like resilience, overcoming challenges, things. I would definitely say something like that. But don't discredit the time that you already put in because nobody takes that away from you. Okay, Heidi, I have 20 years in business administration, project management, and taking American Sign Language classes. Incredible. Yeah. So we just need to, for you, Heidi, we just have to get a little bit loud about, and when I say loud, I don't mean outgoing loud, but it's more about kind of sharing these different things. So whether it's Handshake or LinkedIn or in interviews, and really thinking through, okay, what exactly did Okay, sorry, I lost. What exactly did I do in project management? What were some of the things I overcame? How did working in business administration support me? What do I know now that I didn't know before? And using stories during interviews, as well as if you want to create content or if you want to build a brand outside of Handshake, that's what I would definitely recommend. And then Andre, I'm 61. My major international business administration and social entrepreneurship. Amazing. So yeah, for you, Andre, I would definitely say LinkedIn is a good place to share your journey, to share your expertise, to share the pivot that you're currently going through, which is what I have down here. So if your goal is entrepreneurship or some form of content creation, I do think LinkedIn, TikTok, or Instagram is a great place to do that because you can add your personal brand statement into your bio to any of these. You can share your journey. But if you are an expert, which a lot of you have great experience already, it's not enough to have the experience. It's really important to be able to communicate the experience you have, and which is why you all get the worksheet, as well as why we went through some of the exercises today. But sharing your journey is really what is resonating with people because even if you're not where you want to be yet, taking us behind the scenes, remember that people connect to people, especially in the rise of AI. So it's not about waiting until everything is figured out and perfect. As you share your journey, that's when people are going to connect with you more and more. One of the things that has helped me a lot is sharing my journey and posting once a week. It's not about going viral. It's really just about showing up because the difference between, let's say that you meet somebody at a networking event, you may never see them again. But if you meet somebody at a networking event and you follow each other on Instagram or on LinkedIn, and then once a week you're sharing your journey, that person is keeping up with you through LinkedIn, through Instagram. And the opposite is true. Based on the way that the comments have gone so far, I don't think this would be the case for anybody here, but also be mindful of what you're sharing on social media because as you're applying for internships, as you're applying for jobs, we're living in this kind of social era where information is very quickly available to us. So also be mindful of what it is that you are posting. I'm not saying you have to be 100% professional. You're allowed to be human as well, but you do want to ensure that you wouldn't want to post something that you wouldn't want a future manager to see as well. So just be aware of that because I have heard of a lot of people that didn't end up getting jobs because of some stuff that they posted on social media. Maybe it involved, I don't know, like heavy partying, some not legal things. So just be very mindful of what it is that you share on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's Instagram or TikTok. But if you have the experience, which so many of you have, it's really about being visible and sharing what you've learned, the mistakes you've made that you've learned from, what it is that celebrate yourself, definitely celebrate yourself. If there's something that you're proud of, being able to create a piece of content on that. Um, is Handshake a website? It's a platform, and then I am not sure exactly how you all log into it. Okay, there's the app right there. So yeah, there you go. Thank you so much. Saida. And then if you are like, okay, no, I do want to build my brand, but I'm starting from zero, I want to remind you everybody started with zero. Everybody started with a blank resume. Everybody started with zero followers. And it's okay to be a beginner. And if you are more experienced, to it's okay to start even though you're further along, because that's going to get you further along way faster than you think. So if you, let me update this really quick because a lot of you aren't. Okay, here is an idea for you all for a post either on LinkedIn or whatever platform you'd like. I'm a blank major student. Here are 3 skills I didn't realize I had until I translated them. And then add your 3 skills there. And here's where I learned them. And then what you'll find, people are going to resonate with that, because the difference between this and just sharing something like, I don't know, 3 tips from a business administration major, or 3 tips from a accounting major. The difference between this post and the other post is that this one actually really gets to tell your story, and it gets to show your human first perspective, where you are sharing the skills that you've translated as well as how you learn them. So it's a form of storytelling and it's a form of connecting people to people, but you're also being visible. You're also sharing your strengths, and you're also sharing a piece of your story. Let's see. So what my challenge is for all of you is tonight or tomorrow, paste your brand statement into Handshake or into your LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember that you can always change it. And then sometime this week, publish your first post using the template that I gave you here in this slide. It does not have to be perfect. And this isn't homework, right? This is really just about the first brick of building something that can really support you for your life going forward, because a brand is what makes opportunities magnetized to you. I've seen it happen over and over for myself. I mean, even just like this presentation, I was found because of my personal brand for this, or thank you, Norma. Norma thought of me because of my personal brand. And she was like, as soon as I saw the theme for this, I immediately thought of you. And that is exactly what I want for each and every one of you, because when you build your brand, whether again, it's in person or online, and you are sharing your journey, you're sharing your story, you are learning to sell yourself, which I'm very mindful of how I use that, because we're not really selling ourselves. It's really just about speaking about ourselves in a way that we could serve. That is when opportunities will really start to come to you. So if you do post, I would love for you to tag me or send it to me so that I can share some love. And I want to open it up for Q&A. So let me stop my screen share here and okay, great. Zaida, you are so efficient. Thank you. The slides are already available for you all. And I think we still have about 8 to 15 minutes. So I am available for questions. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's summertime. So any questions, you can either unmute or you can write them in the chat. And if I missed a question, if you wouldn't mind just copying and pasting it back into the chat, that would be amazing. Okay. Um, okay, a question came in. I want to be a doctor, but I've never shadowed and just started as a volunteer doula at the hospital. Oh my gosh, how cool. I have so much experience in childcare, the military, customer service, and mentoring other people in the military and customer service. I just don't know how I can put this to use. Yes, so every experience is going to help you. even if it's not directly correlated. I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if you all remember the store Radio Shack, but that was one of my first ever jobs. And I remember thinking, how in the world am I going to use the experience that I'm gaining here in the future? And believe it or not, there were so many transferable skills. So your ability to your experience in customer service is perfect for being a doctor because there are so many doctors that do not have experience with customer service because they went straight to medical school. And what they did is they just learned how to be a doctor and not how to work with people. So the fact that you have experience with childcare, experience with the military, experience with customer service, not only can you be an amazing doctor from a medical perspective, but you're also, well, again, we're humans before anything else. You're going to be able to talk to people in ways that they actually can understand. You're going to have this emotional intelligence that maybe somebody that went straight to medical school wouldn't have. So I think you're already on the right steps with becoming a volunteer doula because, again, clarity comes from action. It doesn't come from thinking. And sometimes we are really stuck in our head with like, oh, I need this clarity before I can take action. But action is really what leads to clarity. So I feel like you're already on the right path. Um, I would say, obviously, looking to take maybe maybe going to talk to your counselor and finding out what is it that I need? What kind of educational plan can I create for myself to become a doctor? Or what are the steps I need to take to get closer to maybe becoming a nurse first. And with my clients, I take them through something called the courage ladder, which is when we are here and maybe we want to get to the top of the ladder, going from here to here, it feels like a really big jump. But what's the next step that you can maybe take that gets you a little closer? Maybe it's not up here. So maybe it is literally that first step that you already took, doula. And then maybe after that, it's like, okay, taking pre-med courses. Okay, maybe after that, it is doing this. Maybe after that, it's doing this. So you are definitely on the right path. And then Heidi, your headshot photos are beautiful. Can you share your photographer's social media handle? Okay, cool. Saida, look at that. They already have a photo session. Yes. So some of the photos, let me see which ones you were looking at. So these were taken in Mexico City, and I'm happy to share the photographer's info if you would like. And so some of them were taken in Mexico City, some of them were taken in Italy. I just happened to do photo shoots both of those trips. And then I'm trying to think if I know anybody locally that you could maybe connect with. I have a few clients in LA who do photos. So if you want to message me after this, I can send you their profiles. Any other questions, anyone? I know we kind of covered a lot. We talked about selling yourself, we talked about building a personal brand. And even though the way I've built my personal brand has been on social media, I want to be really clear. You don't have to do that. I do think it's one of the easiest ways, but I also have a lot of clients who actually attend in-person networking events, and sometimes in person is better. I have a client who works in real estate. Real estate's obviously something that happens in person. So for her, going to in-person events was the best way to build her personal brand. If you are looking to become an entrepreneur, then I think social media will be really helpful unless you're going to like open up a coffee shop. In that case, then doing in-person stuff is going to be really helpful. I'm just looking through the comments to make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you all for being so engaging as well. Okay, Jay says, if my language skills are not very strong because English is my second language, not my native language, is there anything you can help me with what you emphasized earlier about selling myself or putting myself out there? Yeah, so Jay, even if your English isn't perfect, you probably speak way more you speak more languages than most Americans, because most Americans speak one language. So I think sometimes when English is not your first language, of course, it can feel there can be some insecurity there around, am I saying the right thing? Or I mean, I was I was out of the country and I said a word that meant a bad word in the country I was in, but I didn't mean to say that, right? So little things like that can happen. But honestly, based on the way you write, I don't think that's your situation. So, what I would say about putting yourself out there, it's really about you have to sell yourself on you. And I don't know what your first language is, what your primary language is, but I guarantee you, if you were going to be working with other people, it's probably going to help you. And whether this means just your lived experience of being in another country, you have a different reality and a different way of looking at things, which can bring a lot of diversity into the workplace. So if a team, let's say that we have a team of 5 people, and these 5 people were born and raised in California, and they all think the same way. And then we have another team, and this team is international. And we have people that were born in Europe, in Africa, in South America, in one person from North America, right? And an Australian. This team statistically will perform so much better than this team because this team of all 5 Californians are more likely to have blind spots that this team doesn't. So I think for you, it's really important to almost sell yourself instead of saying, oh, I don't know English that well. You say, I know English and I know this entire other language and I have this other lived experience as well. So I know I'm not giving you a super clear answer here, but I think what matters more than anything is how you feel about it. And people that speak multiple languages are definitely able to connect with others in a way that other, and nothing against people that only speak one language, right? But I think you're looking at this as like a setback. And what I'm telling you is that it's a strength. And whenever you show up to interviews like that, or whenever you're filling out your profiles from that perspective, I think it's going to be a lot easier. But what I would even say, I would include, to give you a more practical answer now, um, you could say skills like cross-cultural communication ability, or you can say things like um, emotional intelligence, because I'm sure you've had to rely on your emotional intelligence when language wasn't the strongest suit for you. And then it also depends on what specific kind of job you're looking for. Sometimes the language isn't the most important thing. So hopefully that was helpful. Oh, thank you for your advice. Yeah, you're so welcome. All right. Yes, of course, Angela. Thank you for coming. Any other questions? I think we maybe just have time for one more. I know we started a little late, so I want to make sure we honor your hour. All right. Well, if nobody has any more questions, thank you so much for having me. You have access to the presentation, you have access to the worksheet. If you want to send me a DM, I hang out on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Those are kind of the 2 main places I hang out. My username is at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with the K. And if you post anything, send it my way. I would love to see it. And yeah, Saida, is there anything else you need from me here or anything else we need to close out?
No, I think that's it. Well, thank you so much, Erica. Let's give it up for Erica, y'all. Applause, big applause.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Okay, well, I hope you all have a great rest of your summer. Thank you so much, Norma and Saida, for connecting with me for this opportunity. And I know you have a ton of amazing workshops coming up for your students. So thank you for putting this on. And I will see you all online. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Erica.
Thanks.
Thank you.